This podcast is sponsored by AXA Farm Insurance. AXA offers tailored cover to fit your unique needs, whether it's public liability or protection for your family home, outbuildings or farm vehicles. Based in Athlone, the AXA Farm team of agri-specialists and regional managers work together to ensure you receive the seamless support you need. Switching to AXA is easy thanks to an innovative online service that enables you to quickly and easily find the best cover for your needs. For more information, head to AXA.ie. AXA Insurance DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to the Farming Week, the podcast brought to you by Agriland and AXA, keeping you up to date with all the latest in Irish agriculture. I'm Charles O'Donnell and I'm joined by my colleague Kathleen Sullivan. Well, we have to unfortunately start with sad and tragic news on today's podcast, and that's with the death of a farmer in an ATV-related accident in County Mayo. Can you tell us about this, Kathleen?
Yes, Charles. So a County Mayo suckler farmer died in an incident involving an ATV which occurred in Kilkelly on August 6th. An Garda Síochána said that Gardaí and emergency services attended the scene of a fatal incident at residential premises in Kilkelly, County Mayo, on the afternoon of Wednesday, August 6th. A man was pronounced deceased by paramedics at the scene. The Health and Safety Authority has confirmed to Agriland that it is aware of the fatal incident and an investigation has been launched. Agriland understands that the victim was a well-known member of the local community, which has been left shocked and saddened by the farmer's tragic death.
And unfortunately, Kathleen, that was not the only death that impacted the farming community this week. There was another incident in County Tipperary. What happened there?
Yes, Charles. So separately, Agriland reported this week that a pensioner died in a house fire at a rural location in County Tipperary. An Garda Síochána and emergency services attended the scene of the fatal fire at Boherlahan, Cashel, County Tipperary on August 6th. An Garda Síochána said that a man in his 70s, the sole occupant of the house, was pronounced dead at the scene. They said fire services extinguished the fire. A post-mortem examination is to be arranged for the deceased and the local coroner has been notified, Gardaí confirmed. Agriland understands that the man who died has been named locally as Michael Luby, who was a member of Clonalty Rossmore Vintage Club and Duala Ploughing Association. Locals have said Michael Luby was a force of nature, and one source told Agriland that Luby was very interested in vintage machinery, owning vintage Massey Ferguson tractors. He also had a threshing mill and baler and would bale hay and straw for people in the local area.
Thanks, Kathleen. And the thoughts of everyone here at Agriland are with the friends and families of the two men. Moving on now, and the annual report for 2024 from the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine was recently laid before the Oireachtas, outlining the department's expenditure in a number of areas, including on TB. The report included a number of interesting figures here, including the amount paid to vets for TB testing. Kathleen, what did the report have to say?
Yeah, Charles. So more than €14.6 million was paid to vets for TB testing in 2024. And that's according to the annual report for 2024. Among other TB-related details, the report also outlines that €64 million was spent during 2024 on all compensation elements of the TB eradication programme. The On-Farm Market Valuation Scheme is the main measure for compensating farmers for the removal of TB reactor animals. Supplementary schemes such as depopulation grants, income supplement and hardship grants compensate for income losses and additional feed costs due to restriction. According to the department's report also, receipts from bovine diseases levies increased in 2024 to €8.1 million compared to €7.9 million in 2023.
And just staying with that department report, Kathleen, there was a lot in it covering a lot of areas. So can you take us through some of the other standout facts and figures?
Yeah, certainly, Charles. It's a wide-ranging report outlining the work the Department of Agriculture carried out in 2024 across various programmes. In this report, the department outlined details of payments under a range of farm schemes and support measures. The highest amount of 2024 scheme expenditure was on the basic income support for sustainability and the complementary redistributive income support for sustainability, with some €842 million paid in 2024. The second highest figure was for the Agri-Climate Rural Environment Scheme at just over €342 million. The Areas of Natural Constraint Scheme saw payments totalling €242.5 million in 2024. Also outlined in the report are details of fertiliser usage in 2024. So the use of ground limestone as a fertiliser declined last year, according to data from the report. Ground limestone usage was down 0.17% on the previous year. Meanwhile, sales of fertiliser in 2024 showed an 8.3% increase in overall fertiliser sales compared to the same period of the previous year. Overall nutrient sales increased by 8.6%. There was a 10.6% and 7.4% increase in the sale of nitrogen and potassium, while phosphorus sales were down 6.6% on the previous year. The department's control programme for fertiliser and lime verifies that the products on the market are labelled correctly and meet minimum nutrient requirements. In 2024, a total of 281 samples were taken at manufacturers' premises, the report outlined. 456 individual analyses were performed for fertiliser, and about 2% out of tolerance was recorded for these samples. All out of tolerance results were investigated by the department, and appropriate actions were taken by the companies involved, according to the annual report for last year. The control programme did not find any non-compliances with urea products last year. Another matter reported by Agriland from the annual report was the department's coordination of an investigation of 51 food complaints last year, 30 of which were related to meat products. It did so on behalf of the Food Safety Authority of Ireland and the European Commission. A 5-year service contract, effective from July 1st, 2021, between the Department and the Food Safety Authority, covers official controls on things such as meat hygiene, milk and milk products, pesticides, border inspection posts, residues, and more. Of the 51 food complaints made in 2024, 30 related to meat/meat products, and 21 food complaints related to milk/dairy products. The report outlined that 7 of the 51 complaints were rapid alerts. The food complaints ranged from conformance with labelling legislation, foreign objects allegedly found in products, and quality issues.
Moving on, and Agriland reported this week on the number of herds who, for whatever reasons, are no longer in the Suckler Carbon Efficiency Programme. Can you take us through these figures, Kathleen?
Yeah, so Agriland revealed this week that 4,600 herds and 85,700 cows have gone from the Suckler Carbon Efficiency Programme, or SCEP, since its inception. The SCEP has been subject to criticism from farm lobby groups and suckler farmers since it was initially rolled out, and many farmers expressed frustration at what they said was overly onerous criteria required to be eligible for the scheme. And figures obtained by Agriland showed there has been a dropout rate of over 20%. The Department of Agriculture told Agriland that the number of herds who applied to participate in SCEP during the opening period for applications between March 2023 and the late closing period for applications in June 2023 was just short of 21,000 herds, equating to a yearly reference number of just over 497,000. Since commencement of the scheme in March 2023, 3,275 farmers have been removed from SCEP, while a further 1,348 participants have opted to withdraw themselves. So the main reasons participants were removed from the programme include failing to calve down a minimum of 50% of their yearly reference number within the scheme year. That was the reason for around 38%. While failing to apply for Board BIA or having continued participation in Board BIA was the reason for around 52%. The balance of around 10% no longer in the programme are comprised of participants who failed to submit a basic income support for sustainability application in either 2023, 2024 or 2025, and/or participants who failed 3 out of 4 of the scheme actions, as well as those who failed to complete the SCEP training by the required deadline.
Well, this week we reported on a recent update to the National Fodder Survey from Teagasc for dairy and dry stock farms. Kathleen, can you take us through the fodder situation at present?
Yeah, Charles. So 90% of farms expect to have sufficient feed in place for the coming winter, Teagasc estimates. Following data from around 300 farms across the country, Teagasc recently updated its National Fodder Survey for dairy and dry stock farms. This update shows that approximately 5% of farms expect to face fodder deficits of 20% or greater this winter. In contrast to the last 2 years, the spring of 2025 allowed for earlier turnout of animals. However, Teagasc noted that around 20% of farms had to purchase additional feed this spring. The authority said this highlights the importance of having sufficient pasture on farm for spring grazing, as this is where many farms were reliant on supplementary feed to fill feed deficits. So 54% of respondents to the Teagasc survey had completed first cut silage by the end of May, and a further 37% in early June. Data from Pasture Base Ireland suggests an additional 0.7 tonne dry matter per hectare has been grown to date on farms above the previous 5-year average. However, 10% to 15% of Pasture Base Ireland farms experience drought conditions, which may result in compromised winter feed reserves in these regions. Only 40% of survey respondents had completed a winter fodder budget to date. As the majority of farms have sufficient reserves in place for the winter months, Teagasc said the focus should now move to building up grass for the autumn through a closing rotation that will maximise spring grass availability. So Dr. Aisling Claffey, Teagasc ruminant nutrition specialist, noted that only 30% of those surveyed intend to analyse silage quality. She said that feed quality has huge implications for animal performance over the winter months, and a greater focus is required on producing silage of sufficient quality for all livestock categories, she explained. Thomas Curran, head of the Teagasc Advisory Service, added that it is encouraging to see healthy hay and silage stocks on the majority of farms across the country. He also said that it is very important to analyse silage before the winter to determine the quality, as this will have a major impact on the performance of animals and the cost of overwintering stock.
Well, we mentioned TB earlier in the podcast, and we're going to touch on that issue again. We're going to talk about figures released to Agriland by the Department of Agriculture on the number of cattle from non-restricted herds that are found to possibly have TB when slaughtered. Can you tell us more about this, Kathleen?
Yes, Charles. So, latest official figures show 3,459 animals from non-restricted bovine TB herds have been slaughtered with suspicions of TB lesions between January 1st, 2025 and July 20th, 2025. The Department of Agriculture also confirmed that out of that figure, 1,758 animals were confirmed to have TB following laboratory testing of tissues. Every animal that is sent to slaughter for human consumption in Ireland, even from non-restricted herds, is subject to post-mortem veterinary inspections. As part of this process, a selection of glands are inspected, as well as lungs, chest cavity, and abdominal organs to check for any signs of TB lesions. The department clarified that there have been 19,610 total reactors between January 1st and July 20th of 2025. However, the department also stated that there have been 43,290 reactors in a 12-month rolling figure from June 2024 to June 2025. In addition to this, the herd incidence rate has increased from 4.31% in 2022 to 6.04% in 2024, resulting in a 36% increase in the number of herds restricted between 2022 and 24. The department confirmed to Agriland as well that as of June 22nd, 2025, herd incidence over a 12-month period was 6.43%.
Moving on, and an issue that comes up annually for farmers in the dairy and livestock sectors is the issue of farm plastics and the cost of disposing of them. Agriland recently caught up with farmers and representatives from the Irish Farm Film Producers Group to learn about recent changes to rules and costs for farmers. Kathleen, what did we learn?
Yeah, Charles. So farm plastic collections are well underway for the summer months, and many farmers are taking the opportunity to get rid of winter accumulations of farm plastic, meal bags, and silage netting. So Agriland headed out to a farm plastic recycling centre run by Smith's Farm Plastic Recycling and agri contractors at Ballinagore GA Club in County Westmeath to gauge farmers' opinions on the new regulations and price structure. Liam Maloney, who is General Manager of the Irish Farm Fill Producers Group, spoke to Agriland to explain its role at these bring centres and why prices are increasing for farmers. He explained they collect around 40,000 tonnes of plastic every year at these bring centres, and that's the equivalent of plastic from around 20 million silage bales. He said they have a particular type of charging mechanism whereby the recycling levy makes up around 70% of their income, and the collection fee they charge to farmers makes up the remaining 30%. He said this model gives farmers an incentive to bring in cleaner plastic, so it encourages the farmer to remove contamination from the plastic. Some farmers told Agriland that they feel they're being double charged with the current cost structure. Agriland spoke to local farmer Finian Farrell to see how he felt about the current price of buying and recycling farm plastic.
We have to pay a levy when we're buying this plastic, and then we have to pay it's gone up the recycling of it when we bring it to the recycling bank. Well, it's a double whammy, isn't it? And it's more. I don't know any other products where people are being charged, at both ends, at the purchasing end and at the disposal end. So it'd be either one or the other, I feel, anyway,
Earlier this year, the Irish Farm Fill Producers Group confirmed to Agriland that the minimum charge at bring centres this year would be €60 per half tonne. In April of this year, the group had also outlined changes to its collections this year in order to help curb the illegal farm plastics trade, it said, and you can learn more about this on the Agriland website.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's podcast. Just before we go, if you're going to the Tullamore show this Sunday, we hope you have a great time there and safe travels going to and coming from the event. If you want to get in the mood for this year's show, you can check out Agriland's build-up on our website and app. But that's where we'll leave it. Please don't forget to rate, review and follow The Farming Week on Spotify, Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love if you could spare some time to give us 5 stars and share The Farming Week with anyone you think might be interested. From Kathleen and myself, all the best.
This podcast is sponsored by AXA Farm Insurance. AXA offers tailored cover to fit your unique needs, whether it's public liability or protection for your family home, outbuildings or farm vehicles. Based in Athlone, the AXA Farm team of agri-specialists and regional managers work together to ensure you receive the seamless support you need. Switching to AXA is easy thanks to an innovative online service that enables you to quickly and easily find the best cover for your needs. For more information, head to AXA.ie. AXA Insurance Stack is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.